Hey, Shalom, Akim, Shalom, Kol Halal, Yahweh, Bashem, Yahweh Shai, Bashem, Makar, Kodash. Say double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Much peace, love, and salutations to you. Akim out there pushing the words of sincerity and truth. This is the brother Ariala. And on this lesson, I want to talk about sometimes you have to know how to play injured. Sometimes you have to know how to play injured. You know, we go through things in life. We go through things throughout our time here in this ministry. The way that we analyze the world and the way that we perceive the world is different from everybody else. We have a different lens. We have a different mindset and intention. And sometimes it can cause us to, you know, take a hit spiritually or maybe take a hit emotionally and sometimes even physically, when dealing with certain issues. But you can't allow those issues to keep you from doing the work, to keep you from doing what you're supposed to do as far as the profession of this faith. So you have to know how to play injured. You have to know how to be going through things and deal with certain things, but still continue to fight for your crown. In 2 Corinthians, the 6th chapter, 1st verse, it says, "We then, as workers together with him, beseech you also that you receive not the grace of the Most High in vain. For he saith, I have heard thee in a time accepted, and in the day of salvation have I secured thee. Behold, now is the acceptable time. Behold, now is the day of salvation, giving no offense in anything, that the ministry be not blamed." Okay? So you're not allowing the situations that we got going on in life that we got going on in this captivity to basically keep you from doing what you're supposed to do. So the ministry be not blamed. In verse 4 it says, "But in all things approving ourselves as the ministers of the Most High, and in much patience and afflictions and necessities and distresses and stripes and imprisonments and tumults and labors and watchings and fastings, by pureness, by knowledge, by long suffering, by kindness, by the Holy Spirit, by love unframed." All of these different components and all of these different things that's happening in and around you should not keep you from building as far as the confession of your faith. That should remain consistent. That should remain, something that you continue to do. When you hear some of these professional boxers or professional fighters, even people just in professional sports, period, they say, hey, you have to learn how to play injured. There's never going to be a point to where you're 100% going into a championship fight, going into, a big game. I have one of my relatives. He talked about how every football game when he played in the league, every game he had some type of injury that he had to overcome. In the same mindset, we're always going to be dealing with, your life is always going to be happening. You're going to always be dealing with issues. You're going to always have issues maybe with your job situation. Maybe it's a car situation. Maybe it's a situation with a family member. Maybe it's just a situation between you and the brothers. Maybe it's just something that's going on in your own head. Maybe you have an infirmity in the body. You have to learn how to play injured. You have to have a mindset to play through it and to continue to press towards the mark. All right? Verse 7 says, "By the word of truth, by the power of the Most High, by the armor of righteousness on the right hand and on the left, by honor and dishonor, by evil report and good report, as deceivers and yet true, as unknown yet well known, as dying and behold we live, as chastened and not killed, as sorrowful yet always rejoicing, as poor yet making many rich, as having nothing and yet possessing all things." Okay, all of these things are going to be conditions that we have and that we have to overcome. But we have to have a mindset that even things are never going to be perfect. Things are never going to be 100%. You're going to have to play through it. Okay. Philippians chapter 4, verse 11. It says, "Not that I speak in respect of want, for I have learned in whatsoever state I am, therewith be content. I know both how to be abased, and I know how to abound. everywhere and in all things I am instructed both to be full and to be hungry, both to abound and to suffer need. I can do all things through Hamashiach, which strengthens me. Okay? And so it's easy to do what you need to do when you feel great. It's easy to do what you need to do when everything seems to be hunky-dory and, la 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 la. But what about doing what you need to do when you're not feeling so great? What about doing what you need to do when situations and circumstances are coming at you? When things are not in the best of the best. You have to learn how to play injured. You can't allow certain circumstances and situations to hold you back from doing what you're supposed to do. There's an example here in 2 Corinthians, the 12th chapter, of Paul having an issue that he went to the Lord about. And you go to 2 Corinthians 12:8, it says, "For this thing I besought the Lord thrice, 3 times, that it might depart from me." An issue an infirmity that he had. And this was the response. It says, "And he said unto me, My grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Most gladly, therefore, will I rather glory in my infirmities, that the power of Mashiach may rest upon me. Therefore, I take pleasure in infirmities, and reproaches, and necessities, and persecutions, and distresses for Hamashiach's sake. For when I am weak, then I am strong." Why? Because it's proving your integrity. It's proving your obedience. It's proving that you have your eye on the prize, that the spiritual matters overcome bodily or mental matters. Okay? And you glorify Yahweh Shemiah Shai in the midst of all those things, in the midst of infirmities, reproaches, necessities, persecutions, distresses. For the sake of Hamashiach Yahweh Shai, you press forward. Okay? And then you prove your strength in those times of weakness, in those times of lack, in those times of insufficiency. Okay? How much more so does Hamashiach Yahweh Shai get the glory? You have to learn to play when you're injured. It's very, very important, okay? So we have to keep a sober mind. We have to gird up our loins in whatever we got going on and know that there's no excuse. We were bought with a price. That the ministry be not blamed, but we fight through whatever we got going on, okay? Hebrews chapter 12, verse 12 says, "Therefore lift up the hands which hang down and the feeble knees, and make straight paths for your feet, lest that which is lame be turned out of the way, but let it rather be healed." Okay? Now, when you look up in the previous verse, in verses 11, it says, "Now no chastening for the present seemeth to be joyous, but grievous. Nevertheless, afterward it yielded the peaceable fruit of righteousness unto them which are exercised thereby." So whatever situations that you're going through, whether infirmities, distresses, necessities, issues that's going on, you're being exercised thereby. That peaceable fruit may be able to be yielded if you overcome, if you lift up those hands that's hanging down and you strengthen the feeble knees, if you make straight your path in Yahweh Shemiah Shai, then that's going to produce for you what? Immortality. It's going to produce for you those treasures in heaven that the scriptures talk about. So you want to keep that in mind as we go through prayers, as you might be going through fastings and supplications and issues. Know that the Most High is not unrighteous, man. All right, He's faithful, and everything that we going through, that we fight and that we overcome, we're gonna receive a payment that we can't even imagine, that we can't even comprehend, man. So I wanted to just talk about that. You have to learn how to play while injured. This is something that all of us go through. It's something to keep at the forefront of your mind, especially as we lead into the time of Jacob's trouble. There's going to be more issues, rumors, situations, circumstances that's exercising our faith and proving us as we go through this walk. Call halal Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai Bahashim Rakah Kodash. Double honors once again to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Much peace, love, and salutations to you. I came out there pushing the word, sincerity, and truth. Shalom.